Okay. All right. So America is right now battling an awful pandemic, right? We are trying to get the COVID cases down. We're trying to save our hospital system. Every American has a part to play. We have a role to play if we want things to get better in this country. I reside in New York City specifically, and we are seeing an increase in cases. And so if I told you, okay, what is the one thing you shouldn't do if you want to bring down the cases of the coronavirus, what would you say? I'll give you 5 seconds to guess. I can almost guarantee you that you didn't guess. You shouldn't go to a swingers party. All right. I know that wasn't on your mind, but we have a story here, courtesy of TMZ, by the way, in which allegedly the New York Sheriff's Department had to go and shut down a swingers party where 80 people attended in Queens. Let us read. NYC Sheriff's Office breaks up underground swingers party. A bunch of free-spirited sex revelers had their good time cut short by cops in the Big Apple. An interesting contrast to another attempted New York bust gone bad. The NYC's Sheriff's Office busted in and broke up an underground swingers club early Sunday morning in Queens, which is said to have been hosting upwards of 80 people, a big no-no under Governor Cuomo's new 10-person or less rule. Sure enough, there was a rager going down. Music was blasting and people were mingling and sipping on booze, which the Sheriff's Office says was being illegally served. And there were some people making whoopee too, altogether. Stop. I haven't heard the phrase whoopee used in years. Shout out to you, TMZ. The cops say they found 3 couples having sex in a small room. Apparently, this swinger joint, which goes by Caligula of all names, has services for that if you're looking to get busy. The sheriff's office even snapped a photo of one of these rooms. It says snap the shot, but photo sounds better. Plus a price sheet going over rates and what looks like a box of condoms. And then it goes on to say, all in all, 2 organizers were charged and there's a fine for $16,000, blah, 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 blah. All right, now, why is this significant? This story is significant for a multitude of reasons. And please ignore the background music of my brother and father watching Creed 2. This story is significant because of all the things to do in the middle of a pandemic, going to a swingers club. And by the way, it's not just that New York City is seeing a hike in cases. Governor Cuomo has these zoning things going on in New York City where...
Yesterday, Governor Cuomo unveiled the 3-zone lockdown plan to limit mass gatherings. Those in the red are the cluster and can only have a maximum of 10 people or 25% for worship.
Specific neighborhoods have different zoning colors. So, for example, if you live in one area of New York City, you might have rising cases, but it's not that bad. You might have the COVID case number might be 2%. Queens is an orange zone, which means their COVID transmission case is probably around 3 or 4%, double what it is on average. And so you out there swinging in a borough that is in an orange zone, which is insane. That means there's an increased likelihood that someone out of these 80 people that attended this swingers party has the coronavirus. It is literally the worst thing you can do if you're trying to stop the spread. But I can't put it all on the swingers, man. I can't. Because one of the things that our government did not do, right? Fauci included, I love Fauci, our various health experts, they did not give us a game plan for people who are obviously not going to follow any of this, right? See, we live in America, a democracy. If you live in Wuhan, China, then you can do these crazy things like lock people in their houses, have guards in the street. There was videos I've seen in India of them whipping people's asses as they came out of a church service that was overpacked. You can't do that in a democracy. And you can't really put people in jail either, because packing a bunch of people in jail will almost guarantee that you have a surge in COVID cases. And so the only thing you can do is rely on compliance. To me, it was a bad idea to not have a plan or advice for people who weren't going to stick this out. It is hard to avoid the call of your loins for that long. I was really nervous about this pandemic in the beginning. And I told this story, I don't think I'm on YouTube page, but I told the story one time to my friend Sabrina SB on our old podcast that we used to do that I was on the elevator and I saw a young woman who, looked very appealing to me, and I let her ride in the elevator with me just so I could look at her a little bit longer. Right? Now, that's insane. Insane. I put my health at risk just to see some ass for an extra 30 seconds. I mean, that's what happens when you deprive people of physical touch and love for that long. And so young people were always going to fold first, because as soon as the data came out that said that their lives weren't at risk the same way older people's were, it was a wrap. And so here's the advice that I'm going to give them for all of you people out there that would risk your life going to swingers clubs. Don't do that, because you're going to get COVID. What you should do, we need to make dry humping cool again. Now, I've always said that dry humping, is kind of underrated and is disrespectful that it's treated as kind of like a stepping stone to sex, because dry humping can be really, really pleasurable depending on who you humping and, the apparel that you have on and other factors as well. And so if I was Dr. Fauci or anybody from the New York City State's Health Department, I would take this as a sign to say, if people are out there putting their lives at risk to go to a sex club, then they out there hooking up one-on-one in their own houses, which you can detect, which you can't really break up. And so this should be a sign that, we need to release the guidelines for dry humping, right? And so my guidelines would be, number one, mask on at all times, right? Mask on at all times. Number two, you can only strip down to underwear. Why? COVID has been detected in sperm. And so you might think that if you leave the mask on and do everything else, like, blowjobs and cunnilingus, that you're safe. Apparently, that's not the case. You might end up slurping in some COVID while you're slurping up homeboy. So don't want to do that. You want to keep it to mask on at all times. You have to keep at least underwear on. And then from there, get creative. I mean, you can really have a great time undie dry humping, right? Like, I remember having a good time dry humping with, jeans. And now we have jeans, we have leggings. You could dry hump with a sundress. There's just so many options. So many options. I promise you, this is the perfect medium for people who would be willing to risk their lives going to a swingers club. You can't tell them to stay in the house, right? But they can't be out here being unsafe either. Dry humping is for you. And so for all of you out there that don't care about your life, I would just like to remind you that it's not just about you. It is about me. And so keep me safe and dry hump somebody today. God bless America.